1 week ago today, I had the greatest single night of whiskey pours of my entire life. And it wasn't even the best part of the weekend. That was good news. Hell, great news. Hey, welcome back to the 813 Whiskey House. I'm Corey, back from vacation. Whew. Kentucky is a marathon, not a sprint. Whiskey weekend, batch number 3. I will say that some people did try to sprint during the marathon, though, and that just leads to embarrassment when you wipe out in front of a bank of elevators full of bodybuilders, soccer players, and I believe a nurses convention. But a couple of my Kansas buddies, we made the long trek to Louisville. We hit distilleries along the way, and then Whiskey Weekend was launched shock and awe style against the Galt House. It was a full-on, full frontal, mostly clothed assault on the senses. So Whiskey Weekend Batch 3, hosted by Will and the Grease and the folks from the podcast. Luckily enough, I'm able to call those guys my friends, and it's a little bit interesting to call a show that you first listen to and then watch on YouTube some of your buddies, but it strangely works out, and you only have to explain it to your parents and your wife a couple times that you're going to hang out with your internet friends in Kentucky. But Kentucky was just full of Southern hospitality, as usual, including this guy right here. Whiskey Weekend Batch 3 pick from the folks from BS and Bourbon. I had an opportunity to drink this out of a 5-gallon bucket while I was in Louisville. I passed, and I probably missed on something by passing on that. Most likely an infection. Can I pour this and keep the label in frame? I think so. Ooh. Oh yeah, look at that. That is sticky. Nice light, floral, kind of fruity nose. Yeah. Woo. Rye spice hits late, oaky. Fantastic, well done. So let's talk, though, a little bit about Whiskey Weekend and how my greatest whiskey experience ever was more to do with the people and less actually about the whiskey, despite the fact that I had more incredible pours in one 3-day stretch than I have ever in my entire life. We skip straight to Friday when, bow, that guy shows up. Dixon Dedman goes mic drop in front of everyone with Kentucky Owl Dry State, super mega limited edition, incredibly difficult to find. That was a spicy oak bomb that was just amazing. And how do you one up that? With a limited edition experimental rye blend, especially for the event that does not even exist for the general public. Just unreal. Dixon was generous as always, signing bottles, shaking hands. Probably should have wore my my blazer over this t-shirt or put that thing under a box. And then Joshua Steely from Buffalo Trace, he brings the shock and awe portion of the night. Buffalo Trace rolls in with their first pour of the night, Weller CYPB. They follow that up with Colonel Taylor 18-year marriage. Gah. And somehow bringing up the rear of this tasting is 3 bottles of BTAC. What kind of world are we living in where 7 pours deep into a tasting after you've had 2 rare Kentucky Owls and Weller CYPB and 18-year marriage and Thomas H. Handy and George T. Stagg do you get to drink Eagle Rare 17, which I've never even seen a bottle of before in my entire life? One day you could grow up and be an Eagle Rare 17. Actually, no, you can't. It's unfortunate. The best part, though, was all of the events that weren't official events. Just friends sharing pours. Crazy stuff was getting dumped into glasses. Jack Daniels from the 70s. Wild Turkey from the 80s. New Riff from like 2.5, 3 years ago. But it didn't matter. Everyone brought their best stuff and just really wanted to share it with their friends. So there was so much good booze everywhere. The good news is, it's been all about the people. And it really has been for the past year. During all of COVID, what's really been able to get me through most of this has been my bourbon friends. It could be my boys from our local whiskey club here, the Wamego Whiskey Syndicate, hanging out here at the 813 Whiskey House. Click the subscribe and the like button, please. I'd like to name the channel one of these days. But for the most part, it was also people that I've barely even met in person, but have spent so much quality time with on the internet through Zoom calls, all facilitated by Will and the Grease from the podcast. more friends than I'm really going to be able to accurately list that have been super important to me throughout this past year, and new friends that I made while I was there this past weekend. At one point over the weekend, I ended up in Mark and Sherry Carter's downtown office drinking Old Carter. I'm just some random dude for Kansas that can't help them do much of anything, but their hospitality was completely unmatched. And that was the story of the entire weekend. It didn't matter what you were pouring, how amazing or rare or vintage it was. And I think that's really the story for most of whiskey. The most important bottle you have is the one that is open when your friends are in the same room. And that is really the key. So it doesn't mean stop chasing cool bottles and great stuff. It just means when you have cool bottles and great stuff, open it for friends. Make a memory in a moment. That's what's really gonna last, and in the end, that's really all that's important. That, and it's also important that I start hydrating now for Whiskey Weekend Batch 4. Whew, I need that Liquid IV sponsorship, holy. So that's it, the good booze, it was everywhere at Whiskey Weekend. The good news, man, it was all the great people. So thanks to every single one of you that made that the most memorable birthday weekend in my entire life. We'll see you again soon. Make sure you like and subscribe, smash the subscribe button, share it with your friends, and we'll be back here again for more good booze, good news. And man, this time the story and the good news, yeah, that was all you. Thanks, friends. We'll see you next time.